Hi, this is Joe again with another um, movie review. But today I'm going to talk about the Universal horror films or the Universal monster movies, and I'm going to do an overview of it instead of going the movies one by one, which is going to take forever. Since we now officially in the month of October, this today being October 1, and I want to talk about the official monster movies. Starting off with, of course, Universal set the trend for the classic monster movies, starting in 1931. With Dracula first, and then later on in 1931 when he came out with Dracula. But before that, he did have horror movies earlier back in the 20s, when the silent film era, with I think you had Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You had Phantom of the Opera. You had, of course, the first real Dracula film, which was Nostradamus, I believe the title was. We didn't have the first really classic or stereotypical horror film until 1931 when Dracula came out with Bela Lugosi, which of course was the great horror film. No, with Dracula, both of them came out the same year, in 1931, but I didn't even see those movies till I was an adult, till I was about maybe 22 years old in 1993, because you had the Sci-Fi Channel. That's how I was really introduced to these films, because for some reason, when I was a kid, that's when I was born in 1971, so I missed the whole era, of course, of the monster movies. But I didn't really get to see them because in regular television, you really didn't really get to see those movies on the weekends leading up to Halloween. Because for some reason, I really did, because those movies were really short. They were under an hour and a half long, maybe between an hour and 10 minutes and an hour and 20 minutes long, if that. So they didn't want to waste 2 hours of programming for a movie that's not even with the commercials. They can't fill up with enough commercials to fill the 2 hours to air these movies. This is a shame. But I got introduced to these movies when I saw them on the Sci-Fi Channel. Because when the Sci-Fi Channel first started, that was before they started producing their own films. And now they just show their own movies. They don't show these classic films. I think those chill out station now, a cable station, like a spin-off of Sci-Fi Channel. And what they do is they show the movies that they used to show on the Sci-Fi Channel, and they put them on this channel. But when I first had the Sci-Fi Channel in 93, and then the next year, 94, what the Sci-Fi Channel did was they took the first 4 weeks, or the 4 full weeks, Monday through Friday, on the Sci-Fi Channel, showing these classic monster films. And 1 week they'll show, and they're all hosted, all these movies were hosted by Christopher Lee, who played Dracula in the monster movies from London, the London studios, or the London version of these movies. And 1 week we have Dracula, all 5 of the Dracula films. Next week will be all 5 of the Frankenstein movies. Next week would be The Wolfman, with I think it was Lon Chaney, I believe it was, Lon Chaney Jr. I think it was, played the Wolfman. And then next week will be the Mummy films, with Boris Karloff. And you had each week you had a different movie from that particular series, which I thought was kind of good, cool, because I get to see these films, and I never really got to see them, so I got to see them on the Sci-Fi Channel. And I saw them, so I liked some of them I watched, and some of them I never heard of. So that's too bulky, and I watched like for 20 minutes and I didn't like it, so I switched. So I started with later films in that series. So I watched I saw Frankenstein, the brain of Frankenstein, doing Frankenstein, and I saw a little bit of the house of Frankenstein, where it was supposed to be like Frankenstein's son comes back and take his place, and accept his responsibility of taking over the Frankenstein mantle. And so a little bit of that. So all this kind of interesting. And I only saw like about maybe 20 minutes because I had to go to work the next morning and couldn't stay up to watch it. And I did. Stupid me, I didn't tape the movie. So, but I saw that week. I saw the first Dracula movie. I saw really the first movie of each one of those series because I wanted to see like the first real one. And of course, the more sequels they make, or the more remakes they make, the worse the series gets, and the more tired people could get from those films. And then like I think like 1 year Halloween came out like on a Saturday. Okay, well, the next day was on Sunday or something. And Sci-Fi Channel aired all these B science fiction films, like Tarantula, or It Came From Outer Space, or all these real hokey movies. And then the next year they showed all the zombie films, like White Zombie, or King of the Zombies, or Revolt of the Zombies. And then of course the last zombie film they showed was of course Night of the Living Dead. That's what the Sci-Fi Channel did, at least for those 2 years, so 93 and 94. In October 93 and October 94. But unfortunately, they don't do it anymore. They have like 13 days of Halloween or something, and they show all these bad, I mean bad, and god awful bad films. So it's like Sharknado, but then became such a big hit with the internet. And even going back to the Universal movies. The first one was, of course, Dracula with Bela Lugosi, and every movie since, every different version since, they try and impersonate Bela Lugosi's performance because it was such an iconic performance, a great performance by Bela Lugosi. Now, unfortunately, I think he got like typecast as, being Dracula. He couldn't really play any other parts but for horror films, really. For most of his career, he died like 20 some years later. When doing the movie Plan 9 from Outer Space was from director Ed Wood. That was really his last film. He only did like a few scenes and then he died, and then the rest of the film you just see an actor with a clay performance face like this, and you only saw the eyes. And but he was really got typecast as being in horror films. And the same thing with the next movie, which is of course Frankenstein, and as Boris Karloff originally Bela Lugosi was supposed to be playing it, and they didn't have the same director for Dracula wanting to direct Frankenstein, but he did a test screening with Bela Lugosi as the Frankenstein monster, but it didn't really work out. I've got Carl Lindley, who was the head of Universal, didn't like the screen test. So what he did was he pulled the director out, put in James Bell to direct Frankenstein, and then he put in different actors because he didn't like Bela Lugosi's monster. So he put in another unknown at that time. It became an iconic character. But because it was Boris Karloff. Excuse me. He was Boris Karloff got in to play the part. Of course, he became famous for playing the part. And for a long time, the two of them were rivals. So the point where they actually did have movies, because those movies were so successful that they combined, like the Dracula vs. Frankenstein, or Frankenstein vs. Dracula, Frankenstein vs. the Mummy, Frankenstein vs. the Wolfman, and they tried to combine all these characters. And the next big series was of course the Mummy, because Karloff was so good as the Frankenstein monster that got him to play the Mummy. And the funny part of it is, he's sort of like a string, being dragged across the floor. And it was supposed to be the Mummy, and everyone goes, that's a mummy. But that was, the Mummy was an actual big scary monster, and that also became a hit. But I think one of my favorite ones, and one of my mother's favorites, was not only the Mummy but the Wolfman as well, because the Wolfman was also very good. And because the Wolfman, unlike most of the other monster movies, the Wolfman was really a sympathetic character. The first one because he was cursed, he was bitten by a werewolf. He got cursed every time he was a full moon. He turned into a Wolfman. He was terrorizing the countryside, like Frankenstein's monster always was terrorizing the countryside. And another problems with these Universal monster films, or a lot of the other horror films during the 30s, you always have these guys who were in these small villages somewhere in Europe, most likely Germany, because that was the time when Hitler came along and the fascism and everything else. So you always have these little towns in Germany or Europe, where you have every time there's a monster or a creature coming along, oh, here comes all the villagers with the pitchforks. The pitchforks and the torches to go after the monster. But one-on-one, the monster can kill anybody. And when you have like about 40 or 50 people going after you with torches and stuff, getting over the monster, and of course the monster never has a chance and always dies. And that's the problem I always have with the first film of each one of these particular monster series, is that the creature always dies. When the monster dies. And then, of course, when the movies became so successful, the producers of Universal, the powers that be Universal, says, oh, let's get some way to bring these guys back, these creatures back, so we can make more money off these particular. Even at that time in the 30s, we were thinking maybe making this movie to a franchise and make more money and more money and more money. Especially at that time when the depression, we were making as much money as possible. And these movies were kind of like real cheap looking, even though the sets were terrifically made and terrifically built. But it was really cheap. That's why the movies really didn't last all that long. It was in the early days of the talking pictures. Like I mentioned in my review for White Zombie, it was really in the early days of talking pictures. But in the monster movies, you didn't really have all that much talking in it, except for the the Mummy was concerned, they didn't have much talking, or Frankenstein never spoke in the original film. It wasn't until Brian Frankenstein when he spoke a little bit. And then you have, of course, the bride herself was played by Elsa Lanchester. And you do see what Elsa Lanchester really looked like in the very first scene of Brian Frankenstein. A little bit of trivia. That is actually Elsa Lanchester, who played the Brian Frankenstein at the end of the movie. You see her at the beginning of the film. She played Mary Shelley, who wrote Frankenstein, and you see her at the end playing the Brian Frankenstein. It's kind of, funny. You see her with the spiked hair and the white streak on her hair. And of course, that look became so iconic that a lot of women that I knew, especially at the Halloween parade here in New York City, would be dressed up as, there'll be a group of four guys be dressed up like the monsters from the Universal Monster film, and you have the one woman in there, in that group, dressed up as the Brian Frankenstein. You always see that type of group in the Halloween parade every year in Greenwich Village. And you have, that movie. You also have the Wolfman. And the funny thing is, in the movie The Wolfman, you have the Wolfman himself. You had Claude Rains, who played the Invisible Man, another Universal monster film. And I think he also had somebody else. I forgot who was the top of my head, but if you watch The Invisible Man, you see this like 2 or 3 different actors from the monster movie era of Universal in the monster movie in the Invisible Man film. And the one thing I like about the Invisible Man is, of course, the simple fact is that it had Gloria Stewart, who of course was in the Titanic movie, which was really her last movie she ever did. She died when she was like 99 or 100 years old, and she was already about 90, 91, 92 when she did Titanic. And she was nominated for Academy Award for Titanic. But for, in Invisible Man, she played the Invisible Man's girlfriend. in that movie. So you had that, and you had, of course, the last real monster film, a monster movie series that Universal did was 1954, over 20 years after the monster movie started, because toward the 30s, and the rest of the 30s, and into the 40s even, Universal tried to keep these monster movie series going, but saying Curse of Dracula, The House of Dracula, The House of Frankenstein, The Curse of Frankenstein, The Son of Frankenstein, and you have Frankenstein versus the Wolfman versus Dracula, the Wolfman versus the Mummy. You have all these cross rings. This one means this one means that one. Dracula versus the Mummy versus the Wolfman versus Frankenstein versus Dracula. You have all these types of series. And of course, in 1940s, you had kind of like almost like a reunion of all these monsters in one film, which was Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein. And Universal tried to cross that in with the Abbott and Costello movies, because the Abbott and Costello movies were becoming popular by the end of the 30s and throughout practically throughout the whole 1940s. You had the Abbott and Costello films, and they did one with all the Universal monster film movies in Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein, which is one of the more popular of the Abbott and Costello films. Because you did have Bela Lugosi fighting Dracula. You had, I think, the Wolfman. You had him back reprising the role of the Wolfman. And I think when you had a different actor, you didn't have Boris Karloff. You had somebody else playing the monster, Frankenstein's monster. So you had, three of the. Well, you did have the Mummy, and I think you might have had the Mummy in there too. I don't know. It's been so long since I've seen that movie. I think you also had the Mummy in that one too. But I do remember the thing you mentioned a minute. You had the Wolfman, you had Frankenstein's monster, and you had Dracula in there, and you had Bela Lugosi, and you had the original Wolfman playing in that, which is kind of cool. You also had Abbott and Costello running around, running away from particularly Lou Costello, running around from all these monsters all the time, which is one of the real bad ones. But Boris Karloff did another Abbott and Costello movie. When Abbott and Costello meets the killer, Boris Karloff. So Karloff was in that one, and he didn't do the Abbott and Costello meets Frankenstein movie. But the last real monster movies was the infamous Creature from Black Lagoon, which was 1954. And what a lot of people don't know was before, last 10 years or so, what does about every other movie is a 3D film. Especially the kids movies, they're all made in 3D. And this movie was in 3D, Creature of Black Lagoon. And by 1954, 3D films were becoming a dead genre. For some reason, 1953 was when 3D movies started coming out. But by 1954, they're all being phased out. It was like a year. It didn't even last a full year. And Creature of Black Lagoon came out, and that was really the last really successful 3D film until this modern era where just about every other film came out in 3D. 3D wasn't really revitalized until like the 80s. Or 1983, when it was like the 30th anniversary of the invention of 3D. When you had Jaws 3D, which is awful. I might get into another time about awful movies. But you had Jaws 3D, you had Amityville 3D, you had, I think, Friday the 13th. Part 3, I think the third movie was in 3D. In the Friday the 13th series. But in the Halloween movie series, which we're probably going to get to another time, that was not in 3D. Not in those movies. And we're probably talking about the Halloween films next, because I gotta talk about the Halloween series if you don't Yeah, if I don't, I'll probably get shot by other YouTube movie reviewers. I'm not talking about Halloween. Halloween movies in October, or closer, gets closer to Halloween, or Friday the 13th films, or the slasher films, which is what I grew up with. But if it wasn't for these classic monster movies by Universal, you might not even have the monster films. But I think the reason why the the slasher films came out, was because most people got tired of seeing the monster films because they only milked. Universal milked that franchise for what it's worth back in the 40s, or by the 1950s, people got tired of the monster films. I mean, how many different versions can you have of Dracula? This one, Dracula this one, all those parts, things. The only one they didn't do was Creature from Black Lagoon, because they only made 2 movies out of that. Or Creature from Black Lagoon and The Creature Returns, I believe was the other one. And that's what they did. They made 2 movies out of that. But the Universal monster films all really set the standard for the horror genre that we see continuing today. And that's wish that, well, I know all these movies are on DVD now, but I don't have any of the Dracula, Frankenstein, or I do have 2 of the Frankenstein movies. I videotaped it off of TCM. 2 of the classic movies. They did a thing with James Whale, and they showed, I think, about 4 or 5 of his films. And the first 3 they showed was Frankenstein, The Invisible Man, and Brian Frankenstein, in that order. They did it in the order in which the movies came out. And it was the first time I really saw the Invisible Man and Brian Frankenstein. Frankenstein I saw before. What a lot of people don't know about Frankenstein, I'll get back to that. There was this one particular scene where it goes, 3/4 of the way from the film, when the monster gets out, and he goes to the lake and sees this little girl playing Maria, as she was building the credits. And she was playing, she was taking these flowers and throwing them into this little pond. And Maria gave the monster a couple of flowers, and here, throw this in the lake and see how it floats? See how the flower floats? And he says, yeah. And the monster gets, saying, yeah, like that. Because it was almost kind of like childlike in that scene. And he ran out of flowers. Because the girl gave only 2 flowers or something. And so he picks up the girl and throws her in the water like that, and see if she floats. And of course he holds her down and she drowns. And it was like a little bit in and out. Because she's yelling, you're hurting me. And she drowns in the water. But there's a little bit of I think it was a little bit of a cutout, but it was put in the movie when the Sci-Fi Channel, so like I said earlier, sort of airing these films. Which is a way I'm glad they did, because it gave me a chance, gave other film fans a chance to see those films. Because naturally there's no DVDs then, I think it may have been on video by that time, 1993, but I really don't know. But now they're on DVDs, they're on box sets, and each one, not only is on individual films, but the entire series, like Dracula, Frankenstein, The Mummy, The Wolfman, they're all in separate little packs, and you can see all 5 films or in these box sets, which is also good. You get either or. But unfortunately, I have those DVD. The only DVD movie that I have is a horror film, is White Zombie, which I did an earlier film review for. So thank you for watching. That's my little recap of the Universal horror films they made. And if you ever get a chance to see these films, I'm sure some of them have been posted on YouTube, but it will take it down. I know the Wolfman was, I think the cover of the Mummy movies were, but they've been blocked. In the United States, those of you who are watching in the United States, those movies have been blocked in the United States because of the copyright rules here. Which kind of stinks because, YouTube's supposed to be like a free thing and we can get to see some movies for free. But, so for that, because Universal keeps pulling the copyright rule on it. So we really can't see, you can see clips of it, but not, or movies with dubbed in Spanish or something. Because it's really sad thing that we really can't see these films on YouTube. And you can see anytime you want. You don't have to wait till October or Halloween weekend or whatever to see these films. And same thing with the Halloween, because last year I was able to see all the first 6 Halloween films plus the documentary one, and now they're all gone. They're all off YouTube. And so like I said, we'll get to maybe doing the Halloween films another time or something. But thank you for watching this video, and please like the video, comment on if you disagree with anything I said on, or how I could improve my videos or whatever. Please comment down below. Subscribe to my page, and I'm going to catch you next time. Thanks for watching.